people who just want to create a better world.
Okay, so you just use brutalism as an approach as opposed to a perspective, right? You said, just to make that distinction, that you can use them, and you can say I've used both, right? Like I said, it doesn't matter because if they're both founded on the NAP, it's sort of like, well, why do we need more divisions within the movement? Like even, I get it, it's not really a division, it's an intellectual, analysis of different perspectives that people have.
What do you think you meant with brutalist humanitarian?
I don't see it. Okay, I don't label people. I don't try to figure that out. I think people are becoming more humanitarian, though. I think that's part of the natural course of progress because it's sort of like there's a brutalism of, well, here's the hard philosophy, here's the reality, and fuck you for being wrong. And I have no problem saying fuck you for being wrong because you're immoral and you're unjust, and I can prove it. And when you mention it as a technique, you can say that I've used that very effectively in the sense that we've got a lot of views, we've got a lot of media coverage. But this movement is no longer about the ego-driven, headline-grabbing kind of shit that I'm known for. And it's more about connecting with people on an individual level that is like, even from a brutalist perspective, hey, being brutalist has made your life better, you've chosen that, so why not, what you really want to do, if you want to change the world to that, is find a way to share that with other people, at least in a way that provides value.
I'm just interested in your demographic because I wouldn't imagine that some people you met at the tour were nice or happy to, maybe they were kind of just weird people. Everyone wonders what the basement dwelling neckbeards actually like. And you met them all. So that was my question. If you're right, if they are becoming more humanitarian,
well, they're all secretly doing yoga now. So.
Brutal and humanitarian at the same time. Aren't they kind of necessary mechanisms, Rob's immune system versus its other systems?
Yin yang, right? The yin yang of libertarianism, brutalism.
Thanks for going there.
I think that would be a fair way of describing it.
My viewpoint too is that brutalism can be used as a tool.
Yes, and so that's what I want to get in terms of outreach and grabbing people. You can do that, and it's for some people it's a great gateway, and for some people who need that shock, that's great. But then what do you do after that? If it's education and information and embracing a different perspective, it doesn't matter if you're humanitarian or brutalist, because inwardly you have to be humanitarian for yourself. To say, I love myself, I am going to make my life better.
There's a comical side of brutalism also, the Russell and Jimmy.
Yeah, Russell and Jimmy. Okay, but fine. All right, there are too many people who are here because they want to be right about everything. And it satisfies their ego and their insecurity. I'm going to call out the movement on this because some of you know this, some of you have felt this, and I don't think I'm any less guilty than anybody else. But why do we engage in libertarianism? When you look at the people who, the LP of 10 years ago, before the millennials started coming into the Libertarian Party, you'd come to, big state meetings, and it was the same 5 old neckbeards, going, aren't we right about everything? Yeah, we sure are. Well, fuck that. I don't want to be right about shit. I want to win converts. I don't need to be right anymore. And this is, part of getting the therapy that we all need is and getting psychedelics when necessary. When appropriate, when done in a conscientious, deliberate manner, to have that ego death. It's I don't need that. I don't need wrestling jimmies is fun.
What is wrestling jimmies?
Pissing people off in a humorous way.
Okay.
Not being so mean, but still offensive. Trolling or funny.
Trolling, yeah. So when you enjoy it, it's funny, great. But I think most people who are motivated by that are motivated by some deficiency of ego for themselves, of their self-image. And a truly well-centered person, a truly emotionally free and happy person doesn't get that extra gratification from that kind of engagement. We see that we get a better satisfaction from people coming to us, maybe a year after we gave them a book, or after we turn them on to a YouTube channel and go, you know what, hey, thank you, that really changed my life. That's of greater value as a simple capitalist profit-loss kind of equation. How do I maximize the value of my time? And in terms of how we win more converts, how we move forward with the movement, it has to be the humanitarian perspective. Even if brutalism is your gateway for some people, is a format for your activism, or Rustling Jimmies gets people to think about one particular issue differently, or opens up a conversation. What it comes down to is, hey, would you like to live freer and happier?
Well, see, now, I used to be a truck driver, and I always noted the shortest distance between point A and B is 3 miles. Let's hang 200 congressmen for treason. That will get everybody's attention, and the rest of them will beat feet for Israel.
Well, I need to tell that this guy is a careful ground.
200 would be a good start.
Yeah.
One more.
So the main difference I see among people who think the way we do versus the kind of stance is that we understand structuralism and incentives and systems that incentivize bad behavior, whereas they feel like, how could that person do that to us? I don't believe that he would do that to us. They believe in the agency of the character, independent of the structure. How do we help more people? I don't know if you've noticed anything like that or not, but if so, how do we get more people to understand that incentives and systems are important?
Well, I wish, I'm not going to try to answer that as specifically, but I will try as possible, because that's a very good question. We can talk for hours about just that, right? Like how do you improve those thinking skills, right? So at least I'll answer for myself what I'm doing. And when we published this book, I realized that it wasn't enough by itself. And for a lot of people, in order to embrace this new worldview, they have to have as comprehensive of a vision as they had in their old worldview. And so I decided that we were going to write the Encyclopedia of Freedom. So like there's a chapter on economics, pull that out, make it another book. All in the same format, 100 pages, short sections, easy to read, irrefutable language, all of that. And intellectual property, that gets to be a separate book. Happiness Causes Freedom, that gets to be a separate book. I gotta go to the table of contents now. Justice, freedom and justice, covering all those issues, that can be another book. The future of freedom, how where we're going forward with this. Localization, how we localize, take governments apart from the top down as peacefully and orderly as possible. And then someone said, well, health freedom is one of the sections here. That's got to be a priority, right? Give people something of immediate value. And it's here already, but some people want a lot more, that they're not going to. They want to be spoon-fed it as a unit of information rather than do all of their research independently. And then one other book actually jumped to the front of the list. It wasn't on the list when it came to me, and that was Living Freedom. And the idea of all the ways that this changes your lifestyle and how you get personal empowerment from this. But then I had another idea for a book that jumped ahead of that, to answer your question finally. Thinking Freedom, a practical how-to guide to think for yourself. I think people want this. And they don't even realize it. It's sort of like an unknown. Like, how do you think differently when the government and schools have taught you to think this way your whole life? Like, you don't know that there are all these other tools of analysis available if you've never been taught them. So my answer to your question is, yes, that's extremely important. That for people who don't have these basic analytical tools that we apply, to give them those. And sometimes it's in the course of a conversation. And most of these individual principles, when you're having a talk with someone and you go, wait a second, you don't understand causality versus correlation? Well, that's a 5-minute lesson. Let me explain to you, correlation versus causation and making that distinction. They go, oh, okay. But for me, the answer is going to be, I'm going to make put all of those conversations as much as I can into this format and give people this. So I'm going to wrap up now with our final administrative note. Bad news, you can't buy any books tonight because they're free. And they're paid for by people like Don here who donated to our New Government campaign last year. Made it possible to go on the road. So books and stickers are free. I'm happy to sign them for you if you like. We certainly appreciate donations to help us with our expenses while we're on the road. If we have anything left over at the end of the tour, it goes to printing more books and stickers and giving more material away. We really appreciate everybody who's made it possible to do this. And one of the really fun things that we've been doing on this tour is keeping kind of a yearbook of the tour in our trailer. Mason and I have been living out of a 19-foot travel trailer for the last 10 months. It's like 5 years of normal relationship time. Right? We're living together, working together, gym, yoga, everything together. We know every smell that our bodies could possibly produce. But we've been inviting people to come out and sign the ceiling on the trailer. So if you want to come out and do that when things are kind of wrapped up here, we can take everybody out to the parking lot, whoever's still hanging out, and do that. And meet our puppy Baloo, who is also a victim of police brutality. For those of you that don't know, Josh got to take care of him.
I got to, when he was at Nate's house, I got to take care of him and broke a bit. He met my dog.
He was the one who had the flashbang thrown at him during the police raid by the United States Park Police. So come meet our puppy and sign each other.
The size of a bear.
Well, I've never had another dog, so like 100 pounds isn't that the size a dog's supposed to be? He's a New Mexico purebred because we got him from the shelter in Santa Fe. We have no idea who he is. So you got something else you want to say?
Yeah, before we start, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm the chairman of the LP of Tuscaloosa County, which is just south here, and I don't know 75% of you. We all are very aligned from a theoretical standpoint and an ideological standpoint. Anybody who would like to be more involved locally, I would love to have your information, and if you'd sign, I don't give a shit what you put in here. As long as I can get a hold of you, I would love to know more, because what we do locally is so powerful. The more information I have from any of you who think ideologically similarly to me, I really, really appreciate it, because, you know, we've got a couple of delegate candidates here, that's a little more political than maybe all of the little L's in this room are. But I really, really appreciate anybody's information or knowledge, because as a collective group, we are way more powerful than we are individually, and I would love to have your information and your efforts. Thank you. I apologize.
No, that's great. The LP is what you make of it. It's a place for people to come together. You want to show up and make the LP where civil disobedience activists get together, you can do that. You want it where sign waivers get together, you can do that. It's centered around the political, obviously. There's nothing wrong with that.
Sorry.
But it's a way to bring people together, and I wholeheartedly endorse this. Please, if you can get engaged somehow or connect with other people. Don't forget, we also have James the accountant. Not James the IRS agent. So he's really secretly an IRS agent. Sorry. You're a cop, right? All right, thank you very much. Have a good night, and please come get a